Welcome back, guys. If you don't know the crack, we're going to go and talk through the usual DXY, EU, GU, first week of February. How did we do? Where I'm at in my trading journey, how I'm thinking, what I'm changing, all that good stuff. Let's look at where we're at with FTMO accounts. We're in about just over 5% drawdown on the challenge. The other two, I've not took any trades this week of any worth. I took out a break even in the end. Just before an FP we had today, but that's it for now. Fivers in a little bit of drawdown, only really 2R, and then similarly for City Trades and Pure, I'm down 2%. So we're all down on everything right now. That's obviously not ideal, but I'm taking it slow from last month, to be honest. Let's jump on the charts. I had a big realization, and going through my trades, obviously I talk everything I do that is taken on YouTube, so I'm putting myself out there. And look, I know last month I took some bad trades. I think we've all done it at times, but what I realized about my strategy is I formulated this strategy and I went, yeah, you know what, I trust this strategy. But what it's then done moving forward is I've become more and more rigid. And what I mean by that is maybe there's some things I don't like about a trade, but I'm like, it's in the strategy, so in my probabilities I have to take that trade. Whereas that isn't actually always the case. If you can build up the bigger picture and you know that a trade's lower probability, it's probably not worth taking. And where I want to be in my trading is taking between 1 and 8 positions in a month. And obviously that is what I ended up taking last month, but I still think 8's on the higher end. And it's more than good if half of them, 5, 6 of them are winners. It's when they're not. And that's where you have to look at it. Maybe you don't overtrade in the sense that you don't take many positions, but that doesn't mean as you start to take losses, psychologically you don't start to chase them. Like, for example, a few of the trades that I did take last month, I don't think were the best. They potentially were due to me being a bit of drawdown. That needs to be looked at because you can't lie to yourself. You've got to be honest. But where I want to incorporate stuff as a bigger picture, making judgments and not changing my strategy. Just because I've had one bad month, I'm not going to change my strategy, of course. The framework is always going to stay the same for how I trade. As long as I obviously don't find something else that works that I can incorporate. But what I want to do is allow myself to be a bit more fluid. And what that's going to entail is, okay, I can make extra decisions and I can use slightly different entry prices / stop losses to make myself comfortable in a position. Really where this has come from mostly is if we were to go on to the higher time frames, where I want to start my analysis for this week, of course, is really down to the fact that just from DXY last month, from what I can see, price action wise, of course, we had a monthly candle fail to break 107, where previous monthlies had an issue. So we don't know during December, if we were going to go up or down. So we ended up seeing a candle there, finished the year, and it closed above 107. What we then want to see is, we want to see a yearly retest, quarterly retest, monthly retest. Higher chance we're going to fail here if we don't get a retest. So really when DXY then comes up to start the year, and you're up in these higher areas, it was really difficult to try and expect upside after this candle. Really, that's what I'm going to say. And yeah, the structure's bullish, but your moves up to here, and of course, as you come into the start of the year, you don't know if you're going to break through here. So you've got to give that a chance. Doesn't mean you just sit here and wait for a retest, of course. But what it means is you're playing moves up to there. We're still creating structural higher highs, higher lows. But once you've seen price actually fail, and we haven't failed by breaking structure, I know, but on a monthly perspective, we're now having an issue. And what that actually looked like on the weekly is we saw a weekly bearish close that took out previous weekly high, closed bearish. And at that point, during the middle of Jan, I would have been more bearish. You had to be more bearish, but at the time here, I was still very, very bullish on DXY, expecting further upside. Partly to that was down to me using a different chart that never tapped 110, but I've rectified that. But yeah, really to understand where the easier moves are is once you're starting to see this issue area here, I mean, the sells make a lot of sense. And then it's almost like once you come down to here, you're getting that monthly retest. So what I would say for the start of this month is we're going to use the higher time frames. And this is a framework that I haven't used enough. I've not used the monthly enough. It's the bigger picture. Weekly is, all right, every week you're looking at the weekly analysis, the new weekly candles. The monthly shows you more than that. So you've really got to incorporate it. And for a lot of you guys that probably are still trying to get funded and doing the same as me, maybe you're not doing that. So I recommend having a look at least. But what can we get from the monthly close? Well, we know that we come up first. So we've got to look at where we've ended up with the monthly, not the fact that if it went down first and then failed up, you'd be looking at maybe we need to take out this low from January. At the minute, we've come up, come down, and we've held this area. So at the minute, we're still trading in between 110, 107. The idea is now to try and come up. That's the idea, because we've seen the weekly last week, close bullish, strong bullish. We want to see upside. That's the analysis. I can also talk about gaps, what happened this week as well with these pairs. And if some of you guys aren't too sure on that, I recommend getting no gaps candles. It's just a indicator, and it just helps identify that a bit clearer. As for monthly closures on EU, what can we get at? Similarly to the XY, it looks very, very similar. We're trading in between these two areas right now. So at the minute, your easier plays are in between these two. As soon as you start getting outside of them, it becomes very, very tricky. Same thing happened here. We tried to come down, we've come back up, and we failed to break back above 105. The weekly suggests at this point that we're getting confirmations for downside, right? I don't know why we're seeing that. There we go. There it is. Turn off. We're seeing confirmations for downside. So the monthly candle is indecisive, which makes it already very difficult going into this month, where at least last month you had the idea to play down or wait for the retest or play down to there and then play buys back to retest, which is actually quite a good option that I missed because I'm looking too much on the weekly and the daily, which is fine, still higher time frame, but not to my liking. Now we've seen this, I'm expecting downside. So really that's the idea. Got a flyer, try and catch it out. We're looking for downside. We're looking for upside. Simple as that. Let's take away some of this stuff here on GU. I've not cleared up my chart. Let's go on the weekly to reset where we were. All right, as for GU, GU is an interesting one because it's different. We're seeing breaks through these areas. You guys might not use key levels. You might have different key levels. If you do have key levels, you're probably looking at them the same as me. These are just what I believe to be the nice levels that I like on the higher time frames. There is no right or wrong levels, to be honest. Key psychological levels, of course, are easier to use because it's where price bounces off a lot. But what we can get from the monthly is monthly came down. You know, you had two candles fail. This candle's broken in. So we're in a new area now. The monthly's confirmed we're in a new area. What it does show, though, is we've got a bigger wick, smaller body. We're only coming into that area because we failed in this next area. This next area was the strong area down here, the lows, where we had the order block. My analysis would be off this is, okay, we're seeing closures into this new area, 125 to 123. We're going to give this a go. We're going to try and come down. If we fail to come down, we're 100% getting back to this for a retest. Even, I know we haven't formed anything above here in terms of POIs, but I would expect this monthly high to be wicked out. And then maybe on the weekly, we'll see areas that we may be interested in to see that further downside, right? But for the minute, you have to give price a chance to tap 1, 2, 3. And that's the problem with this week. You're going into the week and you're thinking, oh, I'm looking for downside on EU and GU. And I was. But this is how the week opened. And as soon as you get this happening for the start of the week, this is what confuses a lot of traders. All right, DXY, we haven't got the gaps on that. It's quite a clean chart. You can see what happened. The important monthly fill area, which we can obviously get here from the left. Monthly fill over here. There is clear signs that this area was also an area of issue last month. Therefore, I've marked it in, I've kept it in because we may get a retest of that. But what we did to start the week is we tried to come up. We made a failure of the high. So really simple. At this point, it's not looking the best to continue up at this moment in time. What can we get from this chart if we're looking at it? Well, it's up to you what you decide that was the low that's failed to take out this high. I think the obvious key liquidity point is this. This is the key liquidity point. We're going to have to induce that before we go up if we're going to see upside, which is going to mean us pulling back into this wick, this weekly wick, which we've obviously seen now. But that's the area that I'm looking at. So at this point, my bias has switched. I don't see us coming up until we take this out. So at this point, I would be on Monday's close bullish on EU. How did EU start for the week? Because coming into this week, if we're looking for downside, there's clear liquidity here. There's 4 wicks. We've also got this wick and we've got the key level. What wasn't ideal is we saw the actual weekly open below this area. We know we're not holding below it, but we did open below. But, and you can see this from the no gaps candles at the minute, is this is what it looks like this day without the no gaps candles. What it would look like to me with the candle gaps on is this is a weak bearish candle with a significant downside rejection wick. All this body and this wick is a bearish wick in my eyes. 132 pip wick. So what price has done, ignoring all like the gaps and all that, it's all noise. I do like gaps getting filled. That is something that I look at. But if we're looking at it from no gaps perspective, we've pushed down, we've come into this area, we've come into this liquidity. If we're going to see further downside, because we spoke about the monthly, it's indecisive. We know that we want to be holding and closing below this liquidity. We've seen a reaction to this liquidity. To me, that suggests further upside is needed. So again, my downside bias at this point is I am not expecting this low to be taken out until we come and take this wick out. And that was really my main idea for the overall week on EU. And it was probably an easier one to look at than GU. So yeah, I'm being careful because I don't just want to run with a bearish bias because there's no confirms anymore. At this point, what it looks like to me is we're in the beginning of potentially changing direction, but we haven't properly got confirms for upside yet. We still have the idea that we want to come down, which at this point would look like we failed here and we need to come back up to 105. So I do favour 105 to be a level we come back to, if I'm going to be 100% honest. But we might not. It doesn't mean your analysis always has to be right. What matters more is when your analysis is correct, you've taken a trade. And when your analysis is wrong, you stayed out of the market because there wasn't enough for you to take it. And that's really the most beneficial thing I've probably ever said on this channel. And it sounds so simple, but it's so true. Just because you think something's going to happen doesn't mean you get involved. Because to be honest, you can't really 100% trust your judgment on every single trade that you take. But when you do and you have total conviction, you're less likely to be emotional about it because you have analysed it and waited for the setup long enough. But that really was Monday. GU did the same. We opened for the week and what did we do? We filled this weekly candle, and I did discuss that in my weekly analysis. We also have a little bit of a different close here. So of course, again, you know, the gap candle doesn't make it clear, but to me, this is a body bullish of like 57 pips and 143 pip wick. Where at this point, at this current moment in time on Monday, is there any options for any sells? There's none. Because what you've done is you've already started to see a failure of this area that last month failed to break. So at least now we're coming back to 125. And I would say this area on the daily, if we go up to it, it's a little bit different. You've got these wicks here. I don't really like them enough. To me, that is the liquidity. So buys up to that makes sense. And, you know, really buys up to that makes sense. So I did set positions. I didn't get tagged in on them. I'm not going to talk too much about that. Otherwise the video will be an hour long. But we saw what Tuesday did. Further bullish candle. And once again, I had positions set slightly lower, I think. I think this was the day I had positions set. Yeah. So you can see Asian done the pullback, and that was really the area I wanted to get in, somewhere around here. It just went away, which is fine. I really did like it. In the morning, we were coming down hard, and I was like, this is 100% going up. You know, it's so obvious. But yeah, not quite at that point where I want to execute on that yet. That's fine. Further bullish candles. I think another thing I've been doing wrong, and this is where doing these videos for me is not probably as much beneficial to you guys as it is for me. Maybe some of you guys do like them, but this area is something I've been doing wrong as well. I am not identifying the adequate or highest quality POIs. I'm just marking in like a noob a fair value gap, an order block, without really talking or discussing how good of an area that is. The reason why I'm not bothered about this area, which I shouldn't be, is because we're going up to that. If we're going to go up to that, then that's my analysis. We shouldn't have a problem with that. So I have looked for positions again on this next day. Same for GU. We saw this day go up. We're still not a target, so I still look for positions on this, on, you know, the lower time frames going down from the 4 hour. But that was the pullback. I think the move of the week, either let's just say the moves of the week, either you were buying from these areas at the start of the week, or you managed to get this pullback on Tuesday morning. I would say they're the two most valuable entries because, especially on Mondays, it just set up prime for the week, and it's very rare that you see the Monday low be respected for the whole week. But the reason why it was is because you saw such a big push down just to get to that point. So in theory, when you've already done a wick that is 140 pips, the chances of come back to it are going to be lower, aren't they? So to think that you're going to now come and take this out for the rest of the week, I don't see how that's going to be possible. But yeah, Wednesday, we still had the idea, still set positions. Here we go, we see that close a week. We did come in and take that out. So unbelievable trade. If you were looking for buys down here, I think it was great. The problem I had is because I was bearish, I don't know, obviously apart from filling this gap, the indecision of that first daily candle. And once I see that, I can feel confident. But before that, I didn't. So for me, that Tuesday move would have been the best. Probably more on EU, it was a bit more clearer. But the GU target was very, very nice. Now, the problem we've got is because the monthly obviously broke into this area between these two levels, now you're above this area. Like, until you get retests, I don't really see the point of trying to risk it. Another thing you've got is you're in a bearish area. The legs are still bearish. You're not actually bullish. This is all potential takeouts for downside. But obviously it's like, where are your safe areas? That's what I need to get better at. Where are my safe areas? Because trying to buy here isn't good. I know some people, especially in the group that I'm in, took sells from there. That's not my entry style, but I can understand the theory of it. But then my question is, where are you selling to? Because I didn't think that was the easiest setup. But yeah, from a perspective of the leg, you know, you're in the premium here. You're in a great potential option for a downside move. So it made sense from the downside to wait until you're up here, take something out, then go for it. As for Wednesday, we see these closures. So DXY, we see Tuesday go down and Wednesday take at that wick. Problem you've got in that now is you're creating stuff behind you. Now, I'm more than happy to put stuff in that's behind me. Not as worried about it on DXY. More, it was for EU. The fact that I still want this to be taken out. We had a bit of a slow day. We're going to have to come in and take this daily out at least before upside comes in. So I was looking at ideas within this area. If we can come back and take out previous daily low, gives me room to play to this target. Only had a 30 pip stop, so it's about a 3R, and that was my idea for the week. That was something I said, you know what, that's worth a go. And let me just point out that the exact thing about my analysis being too strict is, in a previous week that I didn't realise the mistakes I've been making, I would be saying, yeah, you know what, weekly confirm, I'm going to sell in this weekly wick, and I would have been taken out and I would have took a loss. So really, I should have lost this week if I stuck to my plan, so to speak. But that didn't make sense based on exactly what I've just spoken about on the higher time frames. As soon as you open for the week there, that doesn't make any sense to be set. And I'm very happy for that to be the case, because I don't, at this point in my trading, I don't need unnecessary losses because I'm trying to now get out of drawdown. So the approach doesn't change, but I'm being more careful about the areas, really trying to build up confidences for setups. And I thought that one was worth it here on EU, so I've took that. And you can see going into Thursday, we did, I don't know, it seems to do that. It skips Thursday and Friday. Thursday come into the daily and it retraced. So it didn't look too bad on DXY. Now, obviously, I want to really see price on daily closing below that, and we didn't ever get that. But I knew that was the point at which we could go up from. So it was playing it a little bit by ear, really, what I wanted to see. As for this, we got tagged in. Tagged in there. Oh, we got tagged in yesterday. We've gone to more like the lower time frames, better to see how it kind of played out. We got tagged in, right? And we didn't really bounce off it. It's another thing I want to start doing. I have been very reluctant to kind of manage my positions. I've now been looking at EU and GU about a year. I'm starting to understand what I like to see when I'm in a trade, what I don't like to see. And if I'm seeing price stalling, I'm unlikely to want to hold it as much. What I can say is I was expecting this Thursday candle not just to come into this daily and break yesterday's low. I was expecting price to flip and go bullish and take out the high. So as soon as I don't see that, I'm like, coming into today, do I want to hold this? We've got NFP coming in, and I really didn't want to be taking an unnecessary loss. This is a kind of position that wouldn't actually be a position that I would have took, last week, week before. But that's something I've got to obviously build upon. And I think that trade there that I took there made more sense than the trade that I would have took on GU this week. And this trade got to, I gave it a chance this morning to go up. We did go up a little bit and then we pulled back and not in the right area for that buy. And maybe we are going to just come down for the time being. Either way, I said to myself there, closed out before NFP at entry. I said the one thing I have is at least going to next week, if we do get the confirms for further upside, we can take that. But at the minute, EU is going down. We're seeing GU also going down, I believe. I've not kind of looked at the charts for a while live. So really, it's not looking the best. Maybe you guys are looking for that downside still in GU, but the weekly at this point is closing equally bullish, equally bearish, both with huge wicks either side. It's not ideal. And then even if we look at EU, we're closing bearish here, but we're still not taking out the area that I want to see. So I don't know where I stand with this. I'm more looking at this as a range, and I don't feel confident at the minute executing. So I'm not gonna take anything. I will hold fire for now. I really want to see, obviously, us potentially come back into 107. If we don't, maybe we are going to come back to revisit 110, and obviously I'll have to adjust my idea from that point. But yeah, we've just ended up going down, which is fine. Definitely threw me off the first candle of the week, so that's going to happen at times with the gaps. Either way, there's proof. There's the idea that that's where I've been going wrong with my trading. That's a reflection I've had. I haven't come to that conclusion by anyone else having to comment. That's all down to me, because I'm going to listen to myself and my intuition. I know that trading is a game of this where you have to constantly level up. You might get too comfortable in the way that you're doing things, but it ends up coming to bite you in the arse. And you've really got to be able to reflect in them crucial periods to go, you know what, I need to put in a bit more work, and that's fine. I've put in plenty of work. I'll continue to put in plenty of work. And maybe you'll see some slightly different entries from me over the next few months. I'm in a great position, which is something that I've reflected on as well, is I do have funding. I do have a couple of challenges on the go, and it would be rude to let that slide just due to me being incapable of realising a few different things. I don't have to rush getting out of this drawdown. I need to work on a little bit in the background. By end of Q1, if I'm at that point where I'm able to get them accounts back to zero, all I need to catch is one win. Let's be real. It's not anything crazy drawdown-wise. I'll be back where I was. It's not anything spectacular to claw back a few percent drawdown on a funded account. It's something I've done before. It's something that traders that are funded have to do. You get 10% drawdown for a reason. It's not something that you can just abuse, but then also it's not something that you can take lightly, that you do have 10 to 20 trades that you can allow yourself to lose, and still have that account if you do play it really careful with your risk. But off waffling, that's the week done. Let's see if the rest of the month could be good. We've got 3 more weeks left. I'm sure we'll come back and we'll have a few good options next week. But have a great one, guys. Stay safe, take care. See you in the next one. Peace out.